And that makes me feel so
It's okay to be there. You have to. It goes back to what I was saying about the marathon, because I was there. I was definitely there. It's just, you can ask God. He says, "Come as you are."
there's a lot, and I think like with my family, it's just a lot of pressure.
Right.
It's a lot because my family. It's being in a Christian. It's a very Caribbean church. The Holy Ghost is a thing. Showing,
Yes.
speaking,
Yes.
opening your mouth. I don't do that. I
Right.
feel so exposed
Right.
and vulnerable, and I can't. I'm not that person.
But maybe that's
With
not your
anyone.
journey to be in their doctrine. That's their beliefs. That's their
Right. They
man-made
want me to
religion.
do that, and I
You
think,
can still
like,
have a relationship with God, just
In
you
your
on
own
your
way.
own.
right, and that's where I'm at right now. I'm trying to find what that journey is. I'm trying to learn how to pray. I'm trying to pray. I feel like I'm like the redheaded stepchild for him, and he sees me, and I see him, and we're like, see you, but I'm gonna go this way.
Yeah.
Right.
But you went through that too, though, in praying, though, because I would just say, just talk to him. Just like how you talk to your girlfriend on the phone, your boy, like whoever, like your friend.
I try
It
not
doesn't
to make it
have to
pretty.
be, yeah. And I started out that, like, hey, God, like, what's up? Like, it doesn't have, you know what, is that with church, we're taught.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be so formal. And so,
Yeah,
nah.
it's like I had
God
my
wants,
sister pray yesterday, and I was like, "You pray so eloquently, like you
but
pray
you think
better
that's
than
what
you
God
speak."
wants?
But I can't do that.
No, but that's not what God wants. God wants a relationship with you. God, today had a rough day, all right?
Right.
I'm feeling it today. I'm feeling ugly today. I'm feeling insecure today. I'm feeling like I'm not good. I just need somebody to talk to.
Right, and he always listens.
I just need, and he's there. It doesn't have to be, shalabo shada, no.
I have a question though, because sometimes I feel like what is important to me, and I pray about it. Sometimes I feel like God be taking off his chancla and popping me in the neck.
Of course he is. He's your, let me make this real clear. The one thing I can set straight. God is the father. He's the ultimate father. Okay? A real parent that loves their child would chastise their child. For example,
Ooh, I just learned that too.
if I'm a mom and I see my child get ready to touch that socket, do I just sit there and be like,
No, you gonna stop your child from
no?
touching the socket.
If I see my child and I love my child and I care for my child, I don't want my child to get hurt.
Right.
I'm gonna take my shoe off and I'm gonna show you, girl, don't you touch that. You know what can happen
Right.
if you touch that?
Now, touching on the subject, I do believe part of the reason why I lost that connection was because every time I felt like I prayed, or, you know, like I always pray for everybody, bums on the street, everybody, that's just me. Yeah. But I felt like every time I prayed, when I did receive my answer, it's like I just kept getting smacked. So I was just like,
because you don't want to hear it.
Yeah, but what's the point of me, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But if he's giving you the answer.
He hasn't given me the answer. That's
but if
the
you're
problem.
getting smacked, don't you think he's saying, like, hello?
Okay, but I'm just like, well, that's how I feel. That's how I feel is how I feel.
Somebody, so, trying my words in a way. That's like saying, how can I say this? You're not going to get the answer like that. One, sometimes you got to go through journeys and not all good things to get your answer.
Right.
Maybe he is giving you the damn answer. You just
ain't
listening.
Thank you.
Oh, that's what I said. Well, that's what it is, and that's probably why. And that's not probably why. That is why my connection with him has lost. Because I'm like,
because you keep hitting a maze, like the block.
And
he's like, until you figure this piece out.
Yeah,
that is something I just learned last year. Not everything.
But that's what I just said.
That answer might be answered years later. Say,
that's what we just talked about. Everything doesn't always warrant a response.
Well, see, that's
if
the
someone
problem.
talks,
You know me.
Listen, I'm gonna
I
tell you
got
right
an
now.
answer for everything. I'm
but that's
Petty
the
LaBelle.
No, but let me tell you something. And I used to be like that until God gave me some humble cookies. Okay.
You like have to know, but with certain things, I can be real petty.
Listen, and you know firsthand because we deal with this with our employer. Okay.
Jesus.
So it was like he would say something, tit tat, and I said, you're losing your peace over having to get the last word in.
I have to learn that sometimes.
Everything, yeah. Everything doesn't need a response.
It's a work in progress. Amen.
For real.
We're all in different levels, but you know what? He is
I've been
there.
stuck at this level for the last 2 years because I still can't
But guess
figure it out.
what? At least you know that God exists.
Yeah,
At least you're
I
there.
do believe
Like,
that.
I'm stuck here. Help me.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you know of your parents' trauma? Yes and no. My mother is the person that brought me here. I'm Caribbean, Jamaican, so I immigrated here with her. For a very long time, I kind of put my mother on a very high pedestal. So I don't know. I didn't know any of her traumas up until recently, and I feel like I'm purposely trying to block it out because I can't and won't. I don't want to ever see her in that way.
Right.
I don't really have a relationship with my dad. He's in Jamaica. It was that thing where the child left and they just lost that connection. So I think maybe I've been here since I was 6 and I'm 29. In that time, we've spoken 10 times.
Wow.
And majority of that 10 times has been on the older end.
Right.
And I guess he is finding himself and wants to now have a relationship. There's some resentment there. That I'm trying to work through. But with my mom, she just recently told me about one of her traumas that I feel like if I really think about it too much, it will break me. She grew up in Jamaica and she was the oldest, so she's gotten R word and at gunpoint, and
Wow.
she's just there are things that have happened to her, and I'm and this goes to something I think that was said earlier. It's us now where we are, and when you think of our parents and where they were and what they went through, half of the things that they went through, a lot of our parents are probably proud because we didn't have to go through that. As bad as things were,
Right.
with me growing up and having to figure out where I'm going to find food every day, I was, as far as I can remember, I was never assaulted.
Right.
My mom made sure she protected me. She gave me the best life that she could, which is 100 times better than what she had. And with what you were saying, how you give your kids 5 options for meals, whereas you had to figure out what you were eating yourself when you were younger. They're gonna grow up and they're gonna appreciate that, and I think that breaking generational curses are things as simple as that. My kid had 5 options for breakfast today. I should be proud, you know.
Right.
Whereas I didn't have any. I had to go steal bread. So
That was a good positive outlook
Yeah.
to say.
Yes.
To switch that. That was good.
but yeah, I do know of some of my mom's traumas, not all. And I want to get to a point where I can talk to her about it because I think she needs healing and she's not ever going to seek it.
Right.
She's worse than us in suffering in silence.
A lot of our parents are.
100%.
And me being the oldest, she relies on me. So I think once I get to a place where I can talk to her about these things, I think that's one of the biggest things. I want to help her heal, if I can. But yeah, to answer.
You can help your mother heal because I'm in that process with my mother now.
Yeah.
Yes, and it took a lot to get my mother because I only understood my trauma and what I went through, not realizing I came from 2 broken parents.
Right.
Right.
It's true. 2 broken parents. So starting with my mother, I did not have a good relationship with my mother or my father as a child. I always grew up feeling like neither parent loved me because I would look at my mother and she'd be like, "You remind me of your father," and then on the rare occasion I got to see my father, whenever he dropped that head and it just rolled in like a stone, you would do things that remind me of your mother. So I never got the positive things from them. Looking back now, as an adult, I had to learn to love myself. It's a lot that I've had to talk to my father and my mother about to teach them, even though they are older than me. And so the biggest thing I have taught my mother is how to heal. And for the longest time, there was no communication, but she finally started to open up and speak about her traumas. You know, things that she grew up seeing, like my grandfather was abusive to my grandmother. She grew up without a father because he was an alcoholic, but he was also a police officer. So things got swept under the rug because of his status and what he did. And regardless of this is in the 60s and he's a police officer and he's a black man at that, African American man, they still helped their own. So in doing so, like, I took my own personal feelings out of it and put them to the side, not to forget them, but to just push it. And then some of the things that my mother dealt with and revealed, like she would see growing up as a child, seeing my grandfather beat on my grandmother. That's how one of my uncles got his leg broken as a baby. Like, it's a lot. But her revealing that plus more.
That was healing for her.
But that's what I wanted. I wanted her to heal because I felt like my mother, it bothered me to see her stuck.
But then you got to understand her a lot better and understood, and then you said it best. Hurt people hurt people.
It's the
because we had a separate conversation a couple weeks back,
and that is 100% fact. So my mom grew up with that, and she not having a dad. She looked for love in the wrong places.
Right.
She did all kinds of stuff, and so now, like, the relationship that I have with her now, because I've been talking to her for years about it and keep reiterating it, even though it got on her nerves, she now can hold conversations about it, and she doesn't get upset, she doesn't get teary-eyed, she doesn't cry anymore. Like,
is that a sign? Like, if you can talk about something and you still cry, does that mean that you're not over it?
if you talk...
it depends.
It depends, but this is the thing, when you're in my own experience, when you're truly over something, like completely over it, you can talk about it without crying. When you're it's not that you're still holding on to it, but you haven't hit the point of where you can speak about it, and that comes time. Like, there's times where sometimes it will, or sometimes it's a memory, or
But
it's...
sometimes, in a sense, you could speak about it, right?
Right.
And not cry. But you're
not healed from it, right?
You're not going through it. So
Right.
You're
just repeating it.
You're not really
processing
That's
it.
the thing.
Yeah.
The whole point is you got to go through the process. So with my mother, I've literally helped her go through processes. One of her ex-boyfriends, she was on again, off again with for 15 years. You know who I'm talking about. And I helped her go through the process. I literally drove her to go through that process. I said, start an open dialect, and basically you can keep it short and sweet, but the whole point is you need to tell him how you felt and what that did to you to damage you, because you need to learn to forgive him in order for you to be forgiven for the things that you have done.
Right.
So
it's a process.
It's a big process, but it's worth it in the end because it drew me and her closer. Like, it gave me also patience, something I don't have.
I don't have any.
Yeah. Wit.
Definitely, yeah, there's definitely trauma on both my parents. It's funny, I had a conversation with my brother last week where we want to have more of, I don't know much about my father, about his traumas, but I can tell it's something.
Right.
His father died when he was pretty young, when I was about 2 when he passed. And my dad, he lost 3 siblings as an adult.
That's a lot.
That's a lot as an adult. So with us, I feel like I never got love in the house. And sometimes I wonder, is it because he didn't get love from his father?
Right.
Are you the oldest?
I'm the oldest.
Okay.
So I get more of the pressure.
Right.
So as far as my father's side, that's kind of where I'm right now as we're speaking. I'm going through a phase. Even my manager, he's constantly telling me, Whitney, just talk to your dad. Talk to your dad. Talk to your dad. I'm trying to break that generational curse, but
it's hard. It's very, very hard because she tells me all the time that I need to do the same.
Yeah.
Because it was difficult with my mom, but with my father, she knows him, she's met him, she's battled it out with him. It's very, very difficult because, especially being Caribbean, because my dad is Dominican, especially being Caribbean, they're, like you said, they're taught to not really speak of it or try and figure it out, or and
Stuck
it's
in
just
their ways.
they're stuck in their ways. And then I find out from my stepmother that my grandfather, he was abusive, alcoholic, did all kinds of things. So it's like the same. Like they don't know how to love, but they also, it's kind of like she said, stuck in their ways.
And on top of that, they had to deal with society. Like, you
Exactly.
understand, like, the one story that sticks out to me is my dad saying, like, when I first came to this country, I was making $1 an hour. And I'm like, $1 an hour? And then him telling me, like, every day going to Cranford, every evening, because he would work third shift. I don't know if you remember this, but he would get stopped every single night. The cop knew he's a foreman. He has a suit on, go to work. But you see the Hispanic male driving at night. Oh, no, he can't be. So you got to deal with the outside world, and then you got to come home and deal with your baggage and not know how to deal with it, and then you take it out on your kids, and you're starting a cycle because you don't know any better. You don't know different. You're just repeating what you're taught.
Well, I feel like it's just obviously we have the same mom and dad.
Yeah.
We're on two different spectrums, right? Of life. You're the oldest, of course, you're the one that's going to get it the hardest, right? But in real life, I feel like I'm the oldest. Now, I do. I feel like I'm the oldest. But your experience with mommy and papi are different than mine. Even though they were strict with us, it's two different things. My mom was strict in church, and like we're Pentecostal. We're not even like Christian. We're Pentecostal. Skirts, no shaved legs, no hair everything. Like it was a lot. but my dad, younger for me, was kind and loving and affectionate, right? Even though he was an alcoholic. My mom was like strict. Didn't show affection, nothing. Until we had some stories. But a little bit older, she softened up so much. Like, my mom is the sweetest. So I don't care. Nobody can say that about my mother. And I mean that. She's really sweet. But
Right now, yeah.
you had, not even now, younger.
Yeah.
But for her, it's going to be different because she was the oldest, her and Kathy. So you have even though she was rough with us, it started to change. But she had a conversation with us. Like, she first said, I sat back and realized, okay, I'm treating my kids the way my mother taught me. Right? The way she treated me, the way she did things with me. I'm going to change. Now that Stephanie and Jennifer are still young, I'm going to change. And that, both of them flipped. My father was an alcoholic, wasn't himself, and my mom became like this freaking butterfly. Like, she's the sweetest person in real life. She's so innocent. Like,
She really
but
is.
my mom is a twin. My mom's been hospitalized the majority of her life. Couldn't even speak. She's deaf. My father had a teacher's pet. Like, it's a lot. He took care of her like that's his wife, but he sheltered her and took care of her. Like, it's weird. As like, so your experience with mommy and papa are different than mine because we're the youngest. So we started to get a softer side of my mom.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because back in the day,
compared to what
I
they had it.
rough on both ends. Like, you're the oldest. Why isn't this done? Why isn't this like? They did this wrong. No, you gonna get punished for this, or you didn't do this good enough. And I was telling, our parents have this obscured way of thinking, and I'm trying to break that now. Even with my 14-year-old, that you could have did better, absolutely. But I'm proud of where you are right now. I've never got told that. I've never got told I'm proud of. And it's weird because it takes now my dad passing and going back and just like the simplest thing, like him having a picture of me when I got my first house in his phone. That was his way of saying, I'm proud of you without saying it. And I'm like,
Then we're not vocal to be like, hey, I love you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're
I
definitely
have
was.
a problem with that now. Like, I never got told that, so like it's weird for me.
It's
to
weird
hug
for
my
you.
sisters.
Yeah,
me too.
I
It's the same way. We don't hug each other.
At all. Like, I hugged Jasmine. I was like 5 past 10.
Yeah.
With my kids.
so weird.
no, but
It
it's
is
true. She
weird,
literally walked right past her and gave me a
And to
big
be
hug.
honest with you, I'm softer because of my husband. Like, if my husband walk in here and he don't give a hug or kiss anybody, that's a sign of disrespect. So I became that way, like in my teenage, because of his family. They're all like that. They're all love
No,
you
it's true.
from the oldest grandmother to the youngest. Like, they're like that. With my kids, I'm unconditional with them.
you know what it is
Like,
too?
on another level.
Because I feel like for me, I've been through stuff where I was vulnerable and I got taken advantage of.
Yeah.
multiple times, and at different age groups, ranges of my life. So my natural defense is,
Yes, you ready to shield it. Because
I don't know you. I ain't about like I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna observe
watch.
you. I'm gonna
Right.
watch
Yes.
before I kind of let you
Yeah.
in a little bit. Just
But as far as trauma, I'm gonna say it's definitely love. Even on my mother's side, it's the same thing. Love, comparing siblings with each other.
Yep.
Who's better? Who would you where you should have been in in life.
yeah.
But even my mom, that's another one. For her, I think it's her dad. Her dad had different women, different. My mother has at least 20 siblings.
Wow.
And I feel like she never really got that love.
No.
Yeah.
She
You
never-
can't. You can't pay attention
Yeah.
to all your kids like that's impossible when you have so many. So how could
She didn't
you?
give that to you.
Yeah.
She wasn't
Taught
taught
that.
Right.
Yep. So that's kind of the struggle I can say because of their traumas. I'm trying now to be more open. Even saying I love you is hard for me sometimes.
Yeah. Me too.
To respond to someone.
And I purposely, we had a conversation with an I. So you guys know the background about it. Yeah. So you guys know the background from experiencing it, but she knows like it now. So I would say I wasn't a good mother to my oldest daughter because I didn't know how to show her love either. So my way of, I was 16, I was pregnant, and I'm like, my husband at the time didn't share the same responsibilities. I'm like, he can go out, I can go out. Not realizing that and it starts even before that. Like it started even from the delivery room, like the trauma of giving childbirth and just not even having that contact, skin to skin contact. Like people don't believe it's a thing. It's really a thing. I didn't have a bond with my daughter. And now I kind of overcompensate for the other 4 kids where I'm like always home. And because I tell myself like, no, I did that. I had fun. I went to the clubs. I did all that when I was younger, and look at how my daughter is now because of me. I take full responsibility of my half of damage that I did to her. And so I overdo it with these younger ones where I'm telling them like, I love you. Even for them, it's more natural. But even sometimes with my 14-year-old is like, because she was born with, she's part of my first ex-husband, which is like trauma all around.
Right.
You were born in trauma. You come from trauma. So, and it's such a difference that now I'm with who I'm with now for the last 11 years, and it's different. Like the birth was different, so it's easier to tell my 3 younger kids like I love you because you come from a loving relationship. Like it's so weird, even with that whole childhood trauma, that when I first got with my man and he just took out the trash, like my oldest daughter then broke down and cried. I don't know if Serena ever told you that. She cried because she was like, I never saw daddy ever took out the trash, and here is this man coming to the rescue and doing these. Yeah, she broke down and cried.
That's crazy.
And I'm like, he just took out the trash. Like,
She's never.
but it was something that
just weird.
it's, you don't know healthy when it smacks you in the face because you've been so used to being traumatized. And that's the same thing with our parents. They're so used to being negative and traumatized.
No,
they don't
it's
know any better.
You know how you know too, like for us, right? Like even if my mom tells me she loves me, she does, and I enforce that. I'm on the phone, I love you, and it's stuff like my, whatever. But we didn't grow up like that.
Yeah.
So she does it. She does it now. Right.
Same. My mom.
But
too.
you know how I know.
I never got told I love you.
I see, but this is why I go back and forth with her because I feel like she still holds more resentment to my mom than she does my dad, and I say that like, you gotta let that go, even though you're probably going through it. Like realize the way they are with our kids, right? That's how I knew. Like the way my father and my son are best friends.
Word, yeah.
So the things that he would do, like even with the grandkids, like they would say stories that I forgot about that we were talking, and I was like, And then, Grandpa told us, and I'm like, damn, that triggered a memory that we had in the sala in the living room. And like, damn, I remember my father told me that story, or my mom said XYZ or whatever. And I'm like, realize that they don't tell us that, but they did it with our kids.
Right.
So, and they broke that cycle for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They
Like,
did it for their
Because I didn't
grandchildren.
have a relationship. You had your grandmother. We didn't have.
No,
we
I
didn't have a
had
grandmother.
great
You have your
grandmother,
grandmother.
and great aunt
We didn't-
and
we didn't
mother.
have that.
We
I
had
all
literally
of
was
that.
a split, and it's crazy. And I'll say this, and then we'll move to the bucket. But our grandmother,
oh Lord.
basically, for whatever reason, she would skip over us. Like she would visit my aunt in Carteret, which is the next town away, with my 4 cousins, and my mother and our aunt literally were pregnant at the same time. So just like kind of like us.
No, each time.
Like,
It
each
is-
time.
It is literally.
My mom was with no, they're not twins.
Oh, that's
They're
right.
not twins. But like when I was born, my cousin was born. Like we're days apart.
Same
Then
thing.
her and
Me
the other
and
cousin.
Miss, same time.
Yeah,
Xavier,
so it was like
Jennifer, same
1,
time.
2, 3. They didn't plan it.
No, and she got all 4 boys. My mom got all 4 girls.
girls. But my grandmother will come all the way from Camden, which is South Jersey, go to Carteret and visit my aunt and them, and not us. Even if it's like, let me just stop by and visit. So, whatever. That passed. And it's crazy how things come full circle, because when my grandmother was really sick, like none of my cousins were there to take my aunt and my mother, because my mom doesn't drive, to go do that long 2-hour drive to South Jersey every weekend. It was me. And it was,
And it's crazy that not all the grandkids, but at the time of her living, my daughter went, Nevaeh
Yeah.
went. We were the ones.
we were the ones that were shunned, right?
Yeah.
Or wasn't like showed loved upon, were the ones there literally
Yeah.
at the end, even up until her deathbed.
Yeah.
Like it came to the point that my grandmother was gonna stay. I was gonna have a full on 24-hour nurse come to my little apartment to care for my grandmother. Full
You
circle.
don't realize, well, I know they're not going to realize, but I'll say this to you. She's like my parents in the same way, right? Shielded, hard, whatever. I was like the same way too. I'm better now because of my husband, to be honest with you. I'm still hard though. But with that being that said, she does act, like she do things as far as taking my mom, like that's her way of showing love too though.
Right.
She doesn't
Doing
say
favors,
it, but
yeah.
she does that, and that's something like, I know mommy wants to visit, she don't see her mom no more, let me be the one to take her. Like that's
Yeah.
the older sister role, 1 and 2, that's your how you say that?
Love language.
Yes, that's the way you show your affection. You still do that.
Yeah.
Like even with Serenity or certain things like that, like I have to talk to Macy, like you realize she, even though she didn't tell you that, for her getting that, and it doesn't have to be materialistic things. Like her coming out her way to do that, and Serenity knows that now. She goes, I know that now. I know that now. So know that it's not.
It's different way to show love.
You
It's
may
not.
not know that, but that's
There's
what it is.
saying it, and then there's actions.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this.